The third key idea that we need to explore is to understand how my mood and behaviors impact others. I like what Robert Fulghum says. He says, do you walk into a room and do you say, "Here I am"? Or do you walk into a room and do you say, "There you are"? Do you suck the life right out of a room? Or are you a breath of fresh air? Do you light up the room when you enter or when you leave? You know, your mood, your actions, your behaviors are contagious, absolutely contagious. And I'd like to do a little experiment right now. In fact, what I'd like for you to do is, first of all, put on the goofiest grin that you could possibly muster up, okay? Goofy grin. Okay, let's have it. Goofy grin. Now, turn to a neighbor. Turn around. Look at one another. Yeah, they are pretty goofy, aren't they? Yeah. But you know, a smile, laughter, it is so contagious, isn't it? Isn't it? And we sometimes forget that we have such power. When we go into a room, we can make things happen. We can make things happen just by the smile that we have, just by the grin that we put on our face. We can make a difference. We can change the dynamic of what is going on around us. We are extremely powerful individuals. It reminds me of that urban legend, and I've been thinking about that and preparing for this presentation. And you may have heard it. It's an urban legend about a Starbucks, and the person goes in and buys their Starbucks, and they buy the Starbucks, or they pay for the Starbucks for the person behind them in line, and to see if that's sort of paid forward or back in this case. And actually I did some research and I found out that this was actually true. And it happened in Washington, Maryville, Washington, on December 21st, 2007. She had been going into her local Starbucks and she would go in and say each day, did they pay it forward? Did they pay it forward? And up until that day, maybe it had gone down one or two folks and it had been paid forward. However, on this date, December 21st, 2007, they said yes, it was paid forward 813 times. 813 times. One good deed created another good deed, created another good deed. Do you see what power we have? And it goes back to some old research. Eisen and Levin, back in 1972, did this experiment. And you may have read about it or studied about it in your textbook. And basically what happened was, now some of you will have to, I'll have to kind of set this up just a little bit because it involved a telephone booth. Now some of you may not even know what a telephone booth is. Before the days of our cell phones, we had to, we'd come to a conference like this and we'd be actually fighting for and in line for the telephone booth. But what the experimenters of this particular research project did, they would go into the telephone booth, and I guess I need to explain for those of you who've not used a telephone booth. You would put in the early days it was a dime, you would put in your dime and you would make your call, and then usually at the end of your call you would hang up, and then what did you always do? You'd check the coin return to see if you got your dime back. Well, what they did in this experiment was they put the dime back. They triggered it so that you would get your dime back. And then what the person would do, they would leave the phone booth and they would go out and they would stage someone dropping a bag right outside of the telephone booth. And the experiment was to see if the person who received a dime was more likely to help the person who had dropped their bag. And they found that yes, indeed, good things happening to one person create good things happening to the next person, create good things happening to the next person, create good things happening to the next person. So you see what power we have in just taking one positive action in our work, in our life. We can create a whole chain of positive events that are extremely powerful. And that is the power of connection, understanding the power that we have and understanding that we can be incredibly powerful connectors.